Um, Another thing to consider, and we couldn't discuss performance without looking at technique, and so if we look at running technique, there's some thought that running technique can influence or impair our running economy. So it may have a positive or a negative impact. And running economy, I mentioned before, is a measurement of our efficiency in runners, and that runners with good economy use less oxygen than runners with poor economy at the same steady state speed. So potentially there could be a benefit there. And the changes in running gait are thought to be performance enhancing through this running economy benefit. And the key kind of kinematics, or the key movement variables that are thought to impact on our running economy, are things like our hip adduction or knee dropping in, increased knee flexion, our overstrider, our longer stride length, slower stance times, our slower step rate, so a slower cadence, and I'll touch on that one in a moment. Pelvic tilt, aberrant arm movements, or excessive vertical oscillation. So these are all things that theoretically can have been shown in the science to impact on our running economy. And running economy, as I mentioned earlier, has been considered to be one of the primary determinants of endurance running performance. And some studies suggest may be more important than our VO2 max. So I mentioned cadence before, and this is a significant study that found that a higher cadence, so a faster step rate, reduced our heart rate and improved running economy. So there was a up to 14.1% reduction in our oxygen consumption. Now that could be significant, really significant for a lot of our runners out there looking to improve our running economy, and that would definitely have a crossover to our endurance running performance. In particular, we're probably looking at runners that have a slower cadence will get the biggest benefit for that. But some studies suggest that our running biomechanics can explain between 4 to 12% of the between individual variations that we get between runners in running economy when you consider in isolation. So there's definitely some benefit there, and studies and experts suggest that changes in running technique offer potential improvements of running economy of up to 14%. So that could be significant for our performance, especially if we've got some of the running technique factors that are linked with poorer economy. So how does it affect our running economy? Well, this can get quite in depth, but better technique has improved distribution of impact through your lower extremities. So this will lead to improved running efficiency. Controlling all the segments of your body will influence your running technique and thus the efficiency of that technique. But we contrast that with changes in technique and training can result in greater economy for some, but it may not work for everybody. And this is looking at things like our individualization of our running technique modification, and that what works for one runner will not work for everyone. And that's why for a lot of the runners I work with, and that we do individualized running gait analyses and assessment for injury, but also for improving, theoretically improving performance. And that's where the individual element's really important. It's also considered that poor technique may be a factor at higher speeds or with fatigue, and might be less important at our slower speeds or our steady state speeds. And in particular, running biomechanics during our ground contact, so when your foot's on the ground, have been shown to have particular significance with running economy and therefore potentially with running performance. So as you can see, there's a lot of elements to it, and I'm going to dive into all of the factors around running technique that are linked with injury risk, that are linked with running performance, things that we can modify, how we assess it. This is another really exciting one that one I'm passionate about, and keen to share with you guys in 2026. So again, stay tuned, exciting things coming through Runners